Welcome to the Agency Navigators podcast. I'm Ro.
I'm Don.
I'm Cayla.
And thank you so much for joining us as always. We really appreciate it. This topic we've been floating around for a while, and it's one that has really caught our attention lately. And I'm going to start with the picture of it. You ever see the long freight trains? Mm-hmm. And they go on forever and ever. And if they try to stop, it takes a mile to stop them. Why is that?
Well, without going deep into the laws of physics, it is something called inertia.
Inertia.
Objects that are in motion tend to stay in motion. And maybe conversely, trying to get an object into motion is much harder than it appears.
So here's a little personal story, because this one goes way, way, way back, too many decades. I actually worked on a cruise ship. And every Saturday night when we got to the port of Miami, we'd pull in, and it would take a long time for this ship to turn around. And it was a sequence of jets or jet propulsion under the water that literally shifted it like a clock to turn it around so we could be facing out. We could go to the port, dock, and be set for our next adventure. And I'm thinking about this topic, that's all I could picture was that series of movements. And it'd be really cool. I'd stay up on deck sometimes and watch it, and you watch the Miami skyline shift in front of you. But it took time and it took effort.
Yeah, businesses and insurance agencies often think they're really nimble. They're nimble. Sorry to say, it takes a lot more effort to get in motion or change direction. I think it's something that owners and leadership teams often underestimate how difficult change can be, or how much effort, I want to say, it takes to change.
Absolutely.
I'm a big, now that we're on boats, and for any of the boat analogy, I'm a big Below Deck fan. And if you've ever seen an episode of Below Deck, you know that every good docking, when the captain's happy, is when also every team member is doing the job that they're assigned. You also need every single person doing everything properly in order to dock and to stay in motion and not hopefully hit any bridges or dock.
That is a great point. Is it takes every team member. I don't know what it was like below deck of the ship I was on. I know the engine room. It took all of the officers and everyone involved, while the passengers were kind of tucking in for their last night on ship, and the non-engineering crew members were doing their own thing. That ship was in motion, the inertia of those jet propulsion, and everything had to be perfect. Everything had to line up to get this massive ship turned around in a fairly small area. So good point, Kay. Every team member. So let's talk inertia. Why are we spending this time talking about below deck and cruise ships and everything and trains?
Well, it's that time of year where we're already looking at 2026. And from a financial perspective, a CFO perspective, we're going to tell you, if we're in the month of September, if you already get to September, the year is already in the books. There's not much you're going to do that's going to impact the current year's numbers, the results. We're really
that's surprising to hear from a CFO.
It is. And oftentimes, it has owners and management teams that said they didn't like that message. But the reality is, let's say your agency found 5 great new client prospects today. If you found 5 big prospects today, and you ultimately wrote them as new business, when would we see the revenue? About 6 months down the road. So there's this lag, and I think that is the lag between putting in effort to change and then seeing the results. There's a huge lag, 6 months, a year, and I think that's what frustrates people. They start putting the effort in, and they don't see anything immediately. There's no immediate gratification. I'm sorry to say, in the rural insurance agencies, It's delayed gratification. What we do today, we're going to see, unfortunately, it might take 6 months or so before we can see hard numbers.
So, go ahead, Kate. Because
I was going to say, I also don't want to say this is a free pass to say the year's over. Let's call it quits and, throw in the game or throw in the towel for the game. It's also about setting you up for the next year. And that's really what happens. And I think what Don is getting to is that anything you're doing now, if you stay in motion, it's not to get to the better end of year. It's really to set yourself up for a successful 2026.
Absolutely. So my first little quip is most agency owners, we know a lot of them profile on Colby as quick starts, and is a 9 quick start. That is heartbreaking to hear. That is really heartbreaking. Okay.
Well, for me. Oh, I'm sorry.
But I mean, other side of it, it is the reality. It's quick starts. Hey, we put the effort in. Where are the rewards? Let's get this going. But on the other side of it, to the point of what you're doing today is going to pay out in the beginning of the year. I don't want to lose what you have done over the past couple months. We're coming off of summer. Let's hit it hard. If there's things that can close this year, let's get them done.
Yeah.
If there's things you were working on or in the pipeline, let's see those through and then prep for the next step.
I think it's the focus on increasing activity. Do the right thing. Do the right activities now, and next year you will reap those rewards.
Mm-hmm. So let's stop and think. And all of us in our work with our agency partners, that's what we refer to any agency CFO client, because we feel like you are our partners. If you're listening to this, what have we seen in terms of trends or anything that we would love for them to focus on, love for them to work on, to put their inertia towards?
We're going to be very much highlighting over the coming months compensation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about, if one of your goals in the next year is to improve profitability, well, likelihood is it's going to come through compensation. Mm-hmm. And we have to be more efficient every year. Efficiency, increasing revenue per employee. So productivity, efficiency, but also we've just been talking about getting the right person in the right seat. Mm-hmm. Because if you have...
It's not a cliche.
It is not. Regardless of your comp structure, if you have the wrong person in the wrong seat, you're in a hopeless situation. So it's time, sometimes those could be difficult situations or, maybe unpleasant things but if you really want to move the agency forward, those people are going to hold you back from being able to change.
Yeah, they're negative.
They're anchors.
Yeah, they're anchors.
Do you have any anchors on your team that are preventing you from, accelerating?
Yeah. I think this is also a year where we're now going, hate to blame COVID, we're now seeing the market shift from 2 different spectrums, whether it's the employer's market or the employee's market. We've now seen both sides of the spectrum, and we haven't seen compensation metrics change, right? When we look at it, if you're benchmarking it, pick your study, it has not changed drastically. We have seen the amount still stay the same, but that doesn't mean your hiring plan has to stay the same. I know the dirty word right now is AI when it comes to people and planning and productivity, but it's a part of the world now, the same way that, using virtual assistants were a new thing even 5 years ago, to really have a team that you can leverage that, mixing and matching who is on your team and how you deliver service. Well, the total dollars haven't really changed. It's how you actually maximize those dollars. And I think we're hitting a year where it's no longer a choice. You're being forced to make a decision, and you want to make the right one where you feel like you're in control of it.
Mm-hmm. And especially I've seen this with some of our agency partners. All of a sudden, they're getting tons of resumes. They're getting tons of applications and interests. Well, that's because there is opportunity. As some of those large mergers took place, jobs have been cut. As employees have been recalled to the office at some companies, They still want at least a hybrid schedule. There are opportunities. And we have one agency partner we're super close with, and he'll be on an upcoming podcast. And we were talking yesterday, and I'm very curious. He has made some really good hires over the past couple months, excellent hires. And we talked about the inertia, and we use that word, that's going to change that dynamic next year, because he's got some serious intellect and experience and knowledge base on his team now. And that's gonna help.
They're built-in lag still.
Built-in lag.
Just like turning that prospect into a client and earning the revenue, you bring on a great team member. Got to give them a little time to settle in, a few months to settle in, and then you'll reap the rewards.
So inertia can be influenced by team members. Inertia can be influenced by leadership. We said this. We just said it on our previous recording. What gets measured gets managed.
And I think it goes back to that.
And leads to success.
Quick start thing and follow through. It's the follow through. Once you get the quick start in motion, we can get into motion.
Hey, there's a need for quick starts.
You got to keep applying the force. Yeah. You got to keep putting the energy into it. You got to keep managing it. And I think, that's
keep
why
the employees motivated.
That's why build a cadence in of regular meetings, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, but it's not one and done. These initiatives aren't short-term generally. If we want to really change the agency, these are longer-term initiatives with repeated effort.
I like that a lot. Go ahead.
I think it goes to people planning too. So I think one of the things that's come out of this year that has slowed down, to your point of leadership, is there's really no one going to trainings anymore. Do we do technical training because we have to? Yes. But, think of the last time you sent a team member to more than just one training here or there. You have to continuously develop your leaders, whether that's in mentorship, whether that's in challenging new projects. There are different things that you don't have to just send them outside of the agency for. But if you're going to build a leader that you need 2 years from now, 3 years from now, it is a lot easier to do those little touches and to keep going and build that inertia than it is to go out and find the perfect ideal hire that, may not exist.
That's a really good point. And obviously, you and I have had conversations with agency partners this year. I've had other conversations. How do we develop future leaders? What do we do? And one of the externally, I always tell them, go find a local leadership program. In our area, it was Leadership Mohawk Valley or Leadership Greater Syracuse. There are these. You were president of the board for Leadership Mohawk Valley. You speak to it.
Absolutely. Change requires leadership. So if you have a lack of leadership, and most organizations actually are lacking in leadership, I think that's a neglected area.
So talk about the organization you were president of the board for, Leadership Mohawk Valley. What did that do?
Absolutely. We talked about formal leadership topics. What does it mean?
And you were out in the community.
Absolutely. So absolutely. But from a range of skill sets, from being a leader to understand the principles of good leadership, communication. We talked to we were also utilizing Toastmasters. Leaders need to communicate because at the end of, we oftentimes forget that leadership implies followership, and that's part of enacting change. We need people. Once you launch an initiative, you need the rest of the agency, your team, to follow. And if they're not going to follow, they're not willing followers. Oh, that's hard.
All right. So let me bring it back to where I was going with it. The idea of to develop your future leaders, to Cayla's point, and it is one we've recommended, what internal project initiative that you want to undertake that you can assign them and say, hey, I want to build your leadership skills. I'd like to see where you go with this. You're going to work with me or you're going to work with the leadership team and be the point person on it. It's a great way to build their authority, build their confidence, because oftentimes new leaders don't have confidence. Get them in an external community program, such as a Leadership Mohawk Valley or whatever your local leadership is, because that gets them out in the community, meeting other business owners. One, it's a great network, referral sources, but also gives them confidence, education, and all of that. So inertia comes from putting in motion. Well, we've got to put our employees in motion, our future leaders in motion. You should put your clients in motion. Mm-hmm. I'm your prospects. How can they put prospects and clients in motion? Open houses, outreaches, visits. Give us some ideas, guys.
Just having a simple conversation, when you really talk to your clients about how are we doing? Do you collect feedback, really candid feedback about, tell me what's working well for you. Tell us where we're maybe falling short.
To that point on the feedback, there is a quote I heard. This was long ago when it was the old RD advisory group, and I did leadership training when I was on my own. And I love this message. Are you in a conversation waiting for your turn to talk, or are you actually listening to what the other person has to say? And I think we've got to be careful with our clients and our prospects. Are we just waiting to tell them what we want to tell them? Oh, rates are going up all over the place. There's high risk in your industry. That car is too fast. Your roof is too old. Are we just waiting to give that message? Or are we actually asking them what their questions are, what their concerns are, and listening to them before we formulate an answer?
I've been really pushing client experience to your point of listening. And this year, I think, has been more prevalent than ever that we are in control of the marketplace sometimes. And even your best efforts can unfortunately be met with a hard market or with increased rates. Yet when you are losing clients, you have to understand, is it the service we delivered? Is it, how we spoke to them? Is it that we didn't talk to them enough? And you don't know that truly without feedback if you're not asking. And how do you know what your future clients are going to want if you don't ask your current clients? And I think that's so important, is knowing if you've got an ideal prospect or an ideal client, well, does your experience even deliver the ideal experience that they want?
That is
but do they want you?
That's a good point. And I'm sitting here absolutely and listening to what Cayla has to say about listening to their clients and prospects and ideal clients. And the idea is, if you want inertia, you have got to listen and act. And the more you can listen and take that knowledge and turn it into actions, that's the true inertia in an agency.
Yeah, the risk, and what happens all the time, is we underestimate that force it's going to take to change. Look, if you put too much force in, what's going to happen?
It's going to tip over.
No. You're going to get more of what you're after. So don't worry about over prospecting. Don't worry about providing a greater client experience. That's great.
That is true.
So don't worry about doing too much. The issue is always we don't do enough. We don't put enough effort into change.
It takes more force and more dedication of power than you could ever imagine. Mm-hmm. Really interesting. All right. We hope you enjoyed this one. Obviously, Kay, Don, and I got very animated on this. This was because we're feeling it for all of you. We're living it every day with you. As always, please, if you're interested, we do have a couple spots open in our agency CFO mastery program. Please reach out, follow us on your favorite podcast, and share us. We are here to help. Any final words, Kay?
Small changes lead to big results.
That's a good one. And Don?
Yes, go into motion now and be patient. The results will come. It just takes a little while. Keep at it. Mm-hmm.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We will talk to you again soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Financially well.